Chapter 91 See the Parents. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yu Tianheng. Like I told you, don't call me Yanzi. Before Yi Qiu could react, an impatient voice cut through the air. Dugu Yan stormed out of the room, looking even paler than before from using her martial soul again. She glared at Yu Tianheng, then went straight to Yi Lingling's side. Yanzi, are you okay? Yi Lingling asked. Lingling, I'm fine. Dugu Yan replied, her voice softening. Yanzi, I'm just worried about you. Yu Tianheng said with a resentful, forced smile. He clearly didn't know why he, the heir of the prestigious Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan, had to put up with this. Yi Qiu looked at him curiously. Worried about me? A smile suddenly bloomed on Dugu Yan's face as she turned her emerald eyes to Yi Qiu, then, in front of everyone, and under Yu Tianheng's shocked, jealous, and hateful gaze, Dugu Yan grabbed Yi Qiu's arm, hugging it tightly against her. She snuggled close, her warmth and softness making Yi Qiu slightly dazed. Compared to the girls he'd known before, her figure was definitely top tier. And at 16 or 17, she was already turning heads. Dugu Yan herself wasn't completely calm as she clung to Yi Qiu's arm. The faint fragrance tickling her nose improved her pale complexion. She glanced at Yu Tianheng, who was still gaping, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. You don't need to worry about anything. Yanzi. You're. Yi Lingling stammered, completely bewildered. Can't you see? He already asked me out. Dugu Yan explained, tightening her grip on Yi Qiu's arm, preventing him from pulling away. Yi Qiu's attempts to escape only made Dugu Yan's heart pound harder, her face flushing. She squeezed his arm even tighter, shooting him a fierce, warning look, a mix of embarrassment and anger flashing in her eyes. Cough, cough. The sudden pressure made Yi Qiu uncomfortable, and he froze. He looked at her questioningly, unsure why she was saying all this. It didn't click until Yu Tianheng roared, oh, it was to shut this guy up. Yanzi. No way. Yu Tianheng yelled in disbelief, his eyes glued to Yi Qiu, specifically his arm that was practically pinned. He wanted to chop it off and replace it with his own. Yanzi, are you messing with me? Yu Tianheng asked, hope flickering in his eyes. He wasn't completely dense. Hearing this, understanding dawned on Yi Lingling. She glanced at her best friend, noticing the pink tips of her ears peeking out from under her purple-green hair. This was quite the sacrifice. Messing with you? Dugu Yan retorted, fighting the urge to yank Yi Qiu's hand away. She leaned her head gently against Yi Qiu's shoulder, draping her purple-green hair across it. We just agreed, and now I'm taking him to meet my grandpa. Meet Senior Dugu. Impossible. Yu Tianheng's face turned green. He'd been working hard for months, always honest with her. What was so great about this newcomer? They'd only been alone in a room for a short time, and Dugu Yan was already willing to introduce him to her family. He glared at Yi Qiu, a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. If he dared to stand in his way, he'd just have to eliminate him. Anything's possible, right, Yi Qiu? Dugu Yan whispered in Yi Qiu's ear, her voice a far cry from her usual indifference. Dugu, ouch. Yi Qiu started to say, but he gasped. Seeing his lack of cooperation, Dugu Yan pinched his arm harder. At the same time, Dugu Yan's red lips moved slightly, hidden from everyone else's view. A soft voice, audible only to Yi Qiu, whispered in his ear. Strands of her hair and her warm breath tickled his ear. Get rid of him for me, and I'll take you to see my grandpa right away. Seeing Yi Qiu's reddening ears, Dugu Yan couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Wasn't this proof of her charm? Yi Qiu had anticipated her request, and a wry smile touched his lips. To get the fairy grass sooner, he had to work on Yu Tianheng. He let out a slow breath and nodded almost imperceptibly, glancing at Yu Tianheng who was still glaring daggers at him. He also felt that his face was a little hot. For a more convincing performance from the heart, the power of the blue-silver emperor spewed out. The warm, calm, and gentle power slowly flowed through Yi Qiu's limbs and bones, the unnatural, hot feeling on my body gradually disappeared. In addition, Dugu Yan also smelled the air leaking from him. It seemed that it could relieve her pain, and her complexion improved a lot, and she couldn't help but get closer to him. Seeing that the two of them were going to stick together, Yu Tianheng's back molars were almost crushed. Yi Lingling also looked at her best friend in surprise, not understanding why she wanted to reward Yi Qiu in this way. After being washed by the power of the blue-silver emperor, on Yi Qiu's face, the expression was as usual, as if Dugu Yan beside him was nothing more than a pink skeleton. That is, the tip of the ear is still a little bloody, this color. Harmless. Yan's right. We're going to meet the parents now. He swept his gaze over Yu Tianheng, whose eyes were growing dangerously dark. He and Dugu Yan exchanged a look, and he offered a slight smile. The noble and gentle smile on the handsome face made Dugu Yan's heart fluctuate a little, and his eyes averted a little. Damn it! No way! As the direct heir of one of the top 3 sects, he'd seen a thing or two, and he definitely caught the flash of excitement in Dugu Yan's eyes. Yi Qiu seized the opportunity, pulling his hand away from Dugu Yan and holding his catkin in his hand, interlocking his fingers. Then he raised his hand in front of Yu Tianheng again. See? Anything's possible. Yan's already said yes. So if you don't mind, don't bother my Yan in the future. It's impolite to come here. Yi Qiu said, listening to his mouthful of yen. My yen. Dugu Yan's face showed shyness, and his other hand clenched his fist tightly. Yi Lingling also looked at Yi Qiu and the two in a daze, looking at the two who were pretending to be calm, the corners of the mouth under the veil curled up in a nice curve, crackling. The lightning flashed on his body, and Yu Tianheng was on the verge of erupting. After coming here, I have been humbled for so long, and none of the tasks assigned by Zhongli have been completed. Yu Tianheng, right? I advise you to leave early. Yan's mine. You don't deserve it. After saying this, a layer of sweat left on Yi Qiu's back. With interlocking hands, Dugu Yan grabbed him tightly. It hurts a lot. Yen. Let's go. Enduring the pain by force, not daring to say any more, Yi Qiu pulled Dugu Yan up to leave. They barely turned around and didn't go far. Yu Tianheng couldn't bear it anymore. Thunder and lightning splashed all over his body, his martial soul possessed his body, and his right hand had already turned into a dragon. Boy! You're dead! With a roar, the first yellow soul ring on his right arm flickered, and a huge dragon claw poked towards Yi Qiu's back heart. Yu Tianheng! Are you crazy? Yi Qiu! Watch out! Yi Lingling's call came in no time. Just as Yi Qiu and the others were about to turn their heads, the dragon claws formed by the thunder and lightning were already close at hand. Oh! Dugu Yan exclaimed. She didn't expect Yu Tianheng to dare to make a move. It was already too late to move. Boom! Yanzi, the dragon's claw fell, and there was a loud noise, and the sky was full of smoke and dust. Yi Lingling's exclamation was drowned out, and the eyes of Yufeng, Shiremo and others finally turned to this side. What's going on? Heh, Yu Tianheng sneered. In the smoke, a glaring bloody light flashed. Chapter 92 Little Lizard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yu Tianheng. Are you out of your mind? If anything happens to Yanzi, you won't get out of Heaven Do City alive. Yi Lingling's voice seemed to douse Yu Tianheng with ice water. His furious, arrogant expression froze, replaced by a flicker of panic. He stammered, I was aiming for the blue-haired kid. Yanzi should be fine. She better be. Huh? Yu Tianheng's eyes brightened as he looked at Yi Lingling. Aren't you here? That means she'll be okay. The 9-heart begonia descendant was present. Since he wasn't targeting Dugu Yan directly, she'd definitely be fine. Reassured, he puffed out his chest, ignoring her. You. Humph. Yi Lingling huffed, exasperated. She could only anxiously watch Yi Qiu's position. Yu Feng and the others rushed over, and even the Shiremo brothers, who had been practicing, were alarmed. Look! What is that? Yufeng's startled cry drew everyone's attention to what he was pointing at. As the dust settled, the smugness on Yu Tianheng's face morphed into shock. He blurted out, "What is that? How is this possible? You're okay, Yanzi?" A flicker of surprise flashed in Yi Lingling's light blue eyes, then, she curiously observed the scene. A bloody, rib-like skeleton shielded Yi Qiu and the others. The smoke cleared completely. Yu Tianheng. Yi Qiu turned, his expression icy as he glared at Yu Tianheng. A hint of hostility flared in the hexagram pattern of his eyes. He had no patience for anyone trying to kill him. Dugu Yan stood behind Yi Qiu. When the thunder dragon claw struck, Yi Qiu had pulled her back, shielding her. She now stared at Yi Qiu's back, her eyes wide with suspicion as she gazed at the bloody skeleton surrounding them. "What the heck is this red skeleton? A soul skill? Is that the best the direct descendant of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect can do?" A cheap shot from behind, holding Dugu Yan's hand, Yi Qiu gazed at Yu Tianheng, who was still crackling with electricity. "Heh! What did I say? This guy's pulling a sneak attack." Shirimo commented to his brother. The brothers exchanged a look of contempt at Yu Tianheng, that arrogant jerk. "What are you talking about?" I was just overcome with anger, that a soul master's actions could hardly be called a sneak attack." Yu Tianheng's face burned as he sensed the mocking stares of Yu Feng and the others. He couldn't accept being labeled a sneak attacker. His pride, and his family's reputation, wouldn't allow it. Overcome? Confused? Heh. Yi Qiu scoffed. He wasn't interested in arguing about the sneak attack, he just wanted to make the four-legged lizard squirm. Or, more accurately, the one-legged lizard. Not happy with Yanzi's choice? Fine. I'll give you a shot. Yi Qiu pointed at Yu Tianheng. What do you mean? Yu Tianheng frowned, unused to being pointed at. Yi Qiu beckoned him closer, his voice cold. "Come fight me. If you win, I'll back off right now. Deal?" Poor little blue lizard. Heh. Yi Qiu even laughed out loud, a reckless, contemptuous sound. He looked mockingly at Yu Tianheng. Dugu Yan, behind him, simply raised her eyebrows, surprised at Yi Qiu's boldness, calling the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon a little blue lizard. The faces of the others shifted, as if they were holding back laughter. "Kid! What did you say?" "I am a dragon. A Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon." Yu Tianheng roared, his face livid, his eyes burning daggers at Yi Qiu. He couldn't believe his ears. The strongest beast spirit on the entire continent, called a little lizard? "Can't beat me. What's the difference between you and a bug?" Heh. Then I'll show you how powerful my Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon martial spirit really is. Third soul skill. Thunder's fury. Yu Tianheng's eyes narrowed, and the third soul ring on his right arm pulsed with purple light. Electric sparks bloomed across his entire arm, spreading throughout his body. He was going all out. Before anyone could react, he charged at Yi Qiu, throwing a punch. "Kid! Die!" Bang! A thud. The bloody ribs remained unscathed, but Yu Tianheng was thrown back several steps. "That defense!" Yu Tianheng stared, surprised, as he clenched his numb arm. "Put some strength into it. Show me what a dragon's got." Yi Qiu smiled, confident in Susanu's defensive power. There was no way a soul elder could break through it. Damn it! Yu Tianheng gritted his teeth. He was going to tear Yi Qiu apart. "Don't get cocky, I'll break your turtle shell." He lunged at Yi Qiu again. The first yellow soul ring on his right arm flashed, and a thunder dragon claw, even more powerful than the last, shot straight toward Yi Qiu. Sensing that the hand he held seemed a little nervous, Yi Qiu squeezed it reassuringly. Dugu Yan's face flushed. Yi Qiu amplified his soul power output, deciding to end this quickly. Overloading was going to make him feel terrible. His eyes turned bloodshot, but he remained motionless. Susanu, however, changed. Swish! Instantly, a bloody hand bone appeared on the skeleton. "What the hell is that?" Yu Tianheng looked stunned. Bang! The enormous fist shattered the lightning-infused dragon claw hammer, the giant hand continued forward, the fist turning into a palm that engulfed Yu Tianheng. Not a chance. Second soul skill, thunderbolt, crackling. Dozens of lightning arrows materialized around him, blasting outwards. He used the opportunity to retreat, bang bang. The arrow-like attacks rained down on Susanu's outstretched arms, but didn't even make it budge. Oh, no, swish. Thud. Ah. Yu Tianheng screamed as Yi Qiu's Susanu gripped him tightly. Damn it. What is this? Open up. Ah, Yu Tianheng roared, blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, and the lightning around him surged wildly, but he couldn't break free. Yi Qiu controlled Susanu's arm, pulling Yu Tianheng close. Hey! Did the aggressive little lizard run out of fire? You brat! Whoever you are, you better let me go. I'm, cough. Tightening his grip, Yi Qiu ignored the empty threats, he just wasn't going to kill him. Yet. TSK. Coughing up blood, huh? Then I'll do as you say. A cruel smile spread across Yi Qiu's face. Kid! What are you doing? Stop! Yu Tianheng's panicked voice rang out, a look of terror in his eyes, bang. Susanu raised its arm high, then slammed Yu Tianheng into the ground. Ah! Yu Tianheng spat a mouthful of blood mist into the crater. Not enough, bang bang. Susanu raised its fist again and again, smashing it down on Yu Tianheng, who was still feebly struggling in the crater. Guru Yufeng and the others swallowed hard, looking at Yu Tianheng's miserable state. They wondered when Sister Yanzi had found someone so fierce. Chapter 93 Dugu Yan's Killing Intent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Lingling's hand flew to her mouth in surprise, now utterly convinced that ordinary soul's sex paled in comparison to Yi Qiu. Yi Qiu. Enough. You'll kill him if you keep going. Dugu Yan tugged on Yi Qiu's arm, her eyes wide with amazement as she looked at Yu Tianheng, who was more like roadkill than a fighter. She couldn't believe Yi Qiu, at only level 24, 11 levels below Yu Tianheng, had absolutely demolished him. What was this guy? Relax, I've got this. Yi Qiu, careful not to actually kill him, was holding back. Using his Sharingan to monitor Yu Tianheng's vitals, he exhaled, and the bloody skeleton aura surrounding them faded away into sparks of light. The red in Yi Qiu's eyes receded, leaving small blood vessels visible. He activated the blue-silver Emperor's first and second soul skills, plus the spring breeze regenerates right leg bone. Cycling through healing abilities, a cool sensation washed over his body and eyes. What's that? Smell? Dugu Yan wrinkled her nose. Curiously sniffing in Yi Qiu's direction, she unconsciously moved closer, hoping to catch a whiff of whatever was easing her pain. Huh? Dugu Yan frowned, sensing his touch. She looked up at Yi Qiu, puzzled. Heh. Yi Qiu glanced at Yu Tianheng, sprawled in the crater, still glaring at him. A sneer crawled across Yi Qiu's face as he raised his and Dugu Yan's intertwined hands high, flaunting them with contempt. The score's settled. Trash like you isn't even worth me swatting like a fly. You're not fit to be with my Yen. Gah. Yu Tianheng's eyes bugged out. Rage choked him. He coughed up another mouthful of blood, then slumped over, unconscious. His caved-in chest testified to the severity of his injuries. Heh. Miss Lingling, I'm counting on you to keep him alive. I'd feel bad if he actually died. Clearly pleased with his handiwork, he turned to Yi Lingling with a polite nod. She just stared at him, dumbfounded. You knew you'd be in trouble if you killed him, so you still beat him that badly, star. Don't worry. He won't die with my 9-heart begonia here. Great, we're outta here. With that, Yi Qiu tugged Dugu Yan away. Dugu Yan shot a wink at Yi Lingling before leaving. Yi Lingling nodded, understanding perfectly. Don't let Yu Tianheng recover too fast, star. She gave Dugu Yan a strange look, but Dugu Yan, oblivious, simply stared back in confusion under Yi Lingling's weird gaze. The two strolled into the dense forest, hand in hand. After a while, the warmth in her hand registered, and she glanced down at their linked fingers. Realization dawned on Dugu Yan. That's what Yi Lingling's look was about. Her cheeks flushed red. She turned her attention to Yi Qiu. Okay, that's enough. Asterisk asterisk Yi Qiu froze, his feet suddenly planted. He instantly released her hand and whirled around to explain. Ha! Ha! His awkward laughter died under Dugu Yan's icy stare. He scratched the back of his head. Sorry. Humph. Dugu Yan huffed. If she hadn't been using him, he'd be tasting the wrath of her green phosphorus snake venom for taking advantage like that. Come on. She grabbed his hand, rubbed it lightly, and steered Yi Qiu towards the edge of the academy. Rubbing her own hand, she suddenly recalled the tingle she'd felt when Yi Qiu had touched her, and she felt a little strange inside. The spot on her chest where he had touched her felt a little warm out of the corner of her eye. She glanced back, a spark of curiosity in her eyes, but Yi Qiu spoke before she could ask anything. Speaking of Yan, cough, catching Dugu Yan's glare, he quickly corrected himself. Miss Dugu, Miss Dugu. He chuckled weakly. What is it? Spit it out. Dugu Yan snapped through gritted teeth. So, why was Yu Tianheng after you in the first place? Yi Qiu had always assumed Yu Tianheng was angling for Dugu Yan to secure another title Douluo for his clan. They were, after all, the only family of wild title Douluo. Winning Dugu Yan meant winning Dugu Bo. That way, the old dragon of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan wouldn't have to be stuck in the sect all the time. It would also cement Yu Tianheng's position as the clan heir, but Yu Tianheng hadn't hesitated to offend Dugu Yan, which made no sense to Yi Qiu. Don't you know my martial soul evolved? Dugu Yan asked. I actually thought you were here for my method of martial soul evolution at first. The method of martial soul evolution. Yi Qiu stopped dead in his tracks, a feeling of dread washing over him. He stared at her back, then hurried to catch up. So, how did Miss Dugu's martial soul evolve? Heh. You want to know? Dugu Yan smirked, stopping and turning to face Yi Qiu. Heh, if you're willing to share, I'd be happy to hear it. Then don't ask. Clearly, Dugu Yan wasn't interested in discussing the topic. Yi Qiu sighed inwardly, hoping his fears were unfounded. The two walked in silence out of the academy, hailed a carriage, and headed towards Tiando City. Inside the carriage, they sat across from each other. Suddenly, Dugu Yan winced, her eyes squeezed shut. Her lashes fluttered, and her face paled. She clenched her fists, gripped her clothes, and gritted her teeth. Yi Qiu frowned and quietly activated the Blue-Silver Emperor's second soul ability, Blue-Silver Fragrance. A refreshing scent filled the closed space of the carriage. Dugu Yan inhaled deeply, greedily. Her complexion improved slightly, but she still looked uncomfortable. Yi Qiu, unable to imagine the intensity of the returning toxin, simply moved to sit next to her. He reached out to touch her shoulder and steadily activated the Blue-Silver Emperor's first soul ability. His soul power flowed into Dugu Yan's body as pure life force. The warmth spreading through her body made her hum softly, the sound almost suggestive. Her pallor lessened, and her cheeks flushed faintly. Thank you. You're welcome. It's just a little effort. Yi Qiu shook his head. She opened her eyes and stared at Yi Qiu in surprise. This guy must have used quite a few soul skills, right? Is that also your soul skill? Ah. It's a self-created one. Yi Qiu said smoothly. Is that so? Wiping sweat from her forehead, Dugu Yan closed her eyes again, focusing her soul power to suppress the toxin. What do you want from my grandpa? You can tell me now, so I can tell him myself. All right. Yi Qiu considered for a moment, then spoke slowly. Actually, I heard Senior Dugu has a medicine field. Medicine field. Dugu Yan interrupted, her voice sharp and her body tense. What's wrong? Nothing. Just a bad wave of the toxin's backlash. Dugu Yan's voice was strained. Qiu didn't suspect anything, assuming she was just suffering from her condition. He had no idea the turmoil raging in Dugu Yan's mind. The thought was followed by an intense killing intent. The medicine field. That sacred place guarded by the Dugu family, someone else knows about it. The carriage pulled into Tiando City and stopped in front of the Dugu estate. We're here. Let's go. Dugu Yan exited first, followed by Qiu. Qiu, go to the drawing room and wait. I'll go find my grandpa. Okay. Qiu nodded and followed a servant toward the drawing room, but Dugu Yan stood at the gate, watching Qiu's retreating figure with a cold gaze, murmuring. How did you find out? Then, she hurried to the secret room where her grandfather practiced. The medicine field was invaluable to the Dugu family, and the unique herbs growing there were crucial to her own martial soul's evolution. She had to tell her grandfather immediately. Chapter 94 Benefactor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Dugu estate felt deserted, with few family members and servants around since Dugu's grandfather and grandson were often away. Qiu entered the reception room and settled down to wait. He mentally rehearsed how he should approach Dugu Bo. Meanwhile, in another part of the Dugu estate, a hidden door opened in front of Dugu Yan, and footsteps echoed from the dark chamber. A concerned, raspy voice called out, Yan, why are you back so soon? Did the poison flare up again? A figure emerged, tall and ramrod straight like a javelin. His eyes, beard, and hair were all a dark, unnatural green, his cheeks were slightly sunken, and he wore a grey robe. His usually stern expression softened only when he looked at Dugu Yan. Grandpa, Dugu Yan rushed to him. This was Dugu Bo, the poisoned Douluo, a force to be reckoned with. Dugu Bo gently stroked her hair, then, holding her shoulders, he examined her closely. Yan, are you all right? If something's wrong, I'll take you back to the spring immediately. Grandpa, I'm fine, Dugu Yan replied, hesitating. Yan, what is it? Did someone bully you? Was it that jerk from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan? Seeing her worried expression, Dugu Bo felt a pang of concern. He couldn't stand to see her suffer. If it's him, I'll take care of him right away. I promise he'll never bother you again. Oh, Grandpa, it's nothing. That scaly punk wouldn't dare mess with your granddaughter. Holding Dugu Bo's hand, Dugu Yan looked affectionate, with a hint of playfulness in her voice. Ha! That's right, he's just a scaly punk. If it weren't for respecting that old lizard, I'd have turned him into a puddle of goo. Humph. He's not worthy of my precious granddaughter. Hissed. A strange blue snake on Dugu Bo's shoulder flicked its tongue, as if agreeing with him. Grandpa's right. I taught him a good lesson today. Dugu Yan agreed obediently. Then why do you still look unhappy? At his question, Dugu Yan's smile faded, replaced by worry. What's wrong? Dugu Bo sensed something amiss. Grandpa. Someone knows about our medicine field. Who? Who is it? Dugu Bo's green pupils narrowed, alarmed and instantly filled with murderous intent. He had guarded the medicine field for years and wouldn't allow anything to threaten it. If someone discovered that treasure trove, his peace would be shattered. I brought him back. He said. Dugu Yan told Dugu Bo everything Qiu had said. Dugu Bo frowned, finding it odd. How could a young man know about the poison he'd been afflicted with? Oh, and Grandpa, his martial soul is a pair of eyes. His soul skill is strange. Even my snake venom didn't work on him. After describing Qiu, Dugu Yan complained a few more times. His martial soul is eyes. Dugu Bo's calm expression vanished, as if struck by a sudden realization. He grabbed Dugu Yan's shoulders and asked eagerly, are his eyes blood red? How did you know? Dugu Yan stared at him, puzzled. Did he know Qiu? Quick. Tell me what he looks like. Blue hair and blue eyes. Blue hair and blue eyes. It's him. It's him. Could it be the benefactor has returned? Dugu muttered excitedly. Grandpa. Are you okay? Dugu Yen looked at him strangely, confused by his loss of composure and wondering who this benefactor was. Ha! Yen, maybe you're saved. Come on. Take me to see him immediately. He grabbed her hand and rushed out the door. Qiu, sitting in the living room, suddenly sensed an overwhelming force approaching. He stood up immediately. Bang! 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 The windows and doors slammed shut in a gust of wind. The hall was dimly lit by a few night pearls hanging from the ceiling. Qiu's eyes narrowed. Two figures, one old and one young, appeared before him. Dugu Yen pointed. Grandpa, this is Qiu. An intense gaze fixed on him. Seeing the green-haired old man in gray staring at him, Qiu recognized his identity and quickly bowed. Junior Qiu, greetings Senior Dugu. Silence was his only reply. Qiu looked up, puzzled. Qiu, Dugu said, ignoring the greeting. His eyes scanned Qiu, a look of reminiscence in them. He whispered, he's so similar, but... Suddenly, his eyes sharpened, and the aura of a tidal Douluo exploded. Sensing the sudden attack, Qiu tensed, his hair standing on end, as a chilling murderous intent locked onto him. An afterimage flashed, and Dugu vanished before him. Grandpa! Dugu Yen exclaimed. He had seemed fine just moments ago, excited to see Qiu, so why the sudden attack? So fast. A gust of wind came from behind. Qiu didn't have time to think, his eyes turned blood red, and he activated Liumang. A green palm struck him, piercing through his back to his chest. Qiu reacted instantly. Using his ghostly shadow movement, he leaped forward. He spun around, keeping his distance. In the dim light, Qiu's eyes glowed eerily. Two trails of red light flashed in the air. With Sharingan fully engaged, Qiu stared at the grandfather and granddaughter, not daring to blink. Qiu, Dugu Yen said, looking curiously at Qiu's eyes. A single glance at their bloody light made her dizzy, her vision blurring. She began to sway. Senior. What do you mean by this? Qiu felt a knot in his stomach. Dugu's speed had been blindingly fast. Dugu held his palm in the attack position, but it was just a test. The murderous intent and power vanished. Staring blankly into Qiu's eyes, his memories became clearer. He saw an old friend. A figure slowly superimposed over Qiu. Grandpa? Huh? Qiu frowned, unsure of Dugu's intentions. It's him. He really looks like him. But the spirit is different. Dugu frowned. Qiu's eyes were somehow different from the person he remembered. He carefully scrutinized Qiu again, and, convinced, he nodded. There was no mistake. This was the person he'd been waiting for. Qiu, is it? Don't worry, I just wanted to see your martial soul. See my martial soul? Qiu looked surprised, his heart racing. Dugu's words suggested he had seen Sharingan before, but somehow different from his own. Yen. What are you doing? Chapter 95. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Before Qiu could even process what was happening, Dugu exclaimed in surprise. Only then did Qiu realize that while he was focused on Dugu Yen had wandered over to his side. Her eyes were glazed with a pinkish haze as she stared blankly at him. Her face was flushed and confused, her expression utterly dazed. Seeing her like this, Qiu immediately understood the cause and felt a jolt of fear. If he insulted his granddaughter right in front of him, Dugu would probably poison him to death. Dugu Yen murmured Qiu's name and reached out to embrace him. Instinctively, Qiu tried to back away, but she lunged forward and wrapped her arms around him. He grunted, a little breathless, as his newly formed soul power almost dissipated. Sensing her move, his blood-red pupils narrowed sharply. Soft, cool lips pressed against the corner of his mouth, sharp teeth lightly nipped at his lip. Yen. Dugu watched the scene in shock, his mind reeling. How could his precious granddaughter do something like that right in front of him? This was unbelievable. Then, realization dawned. Something was definitely wrong. Boy! What did you do? He shouted, striding toward Yi Qiu. Seeing Dugu Bo approach, Yi Qiu tensed and shoved the clinging girl away. He touched his lip, wincing. A smear of blood stained his finger, and he could feel the faint marks of teeth. Yen yen, yen yen, Dugu Bo caught Dugu Yen as she stumbled, shaking her gently until her eyes cleared. Grandpa! What happened to me? She asked, rubbing her head, confused. Grandpa wants to know what happened. Dugu Yen pursed her lips, suddenly noticing a faint metallic taste in her mouth. The fleeting memory of the kiss flashed through her mind like a wave of heat. Instantly, she blushed crimson, her face turning bright red all the way down to her neck and ears. She pushed Dugu Bo away, her face furious. Yi Qiu! Her emerald eyes, now shimmering with tears, glared at Yi Qiu as she spat out his name, each syllable filled with venom. You little sneak! What kind of perverted soul skill is that? She glared at Yi Qiu and roared. She'd heard from Yi Lingling that his soul skills could control people, but she never imagined he would make her kiss him in front of her grandfather. Soul skills. A dangerous glint appeared in Dugu Bo's eyes. His gaze toward Yi Qiu was no longer friendly. Senior. Miss Dugu, this is all a misunderstanding. It's just that. Yi Qiu stammered, trying to explain, but he couldn't find the right words. Heh. Can't explain it, huh? Dugu Yen hissed, her spirit already manifesting. She swayed her waist and dragged her snake tail along the ground. Teacher. I'm going to kill you today. That the purple soul ring above her head flashed brightly. Third soul skill, Jade Phosphorus Purple Poison. That she condensed a cloud of poisonous mist into a flurry of toxic darts, which she rapidly spat toward Yi Qiu. Miss Dugu. Calm down. Calm down. It's just that my spirit is a little special. I didn't mean for that to happen. Laugh. The poisonous darts passed right through Yi Qiu, striking the stone pillar behind him and dissolving into wisps of purple smoke. Calm down. Her spirit fully manifested. Dugu Yen gave a chilling smile. Why should she calm down? Dugu Bo watched from the sidelines, a flicker of doubt in his eyes as he studied Yi Qiu's expression. He felt that Yi Qiu wasn't lying. Furthermore, Yi Qiu's ability to phase through objects piqued his interest. So, this guy really is a descendant of my benefactor. Remembering how he'd obtained his 8th spirit ring and recalling those miraculous spirit skills, his heart stirred with excitement. Under the constant barrage of attacks from the furious beauty, Yi Qiu kept using his powers, while simultaneously keeping an eye on Dugu Bo, who still hadn't made a move. You're going to die. Dugu Yan's hair was now disheveled, and her breathing was ragged. Yi Qiu sighed inwardly, scanning the surroundings. He looked for a spot where the poisonous mist was less concentrated. It was time to reset the dimension. Senior Dugu, I can help Miss Dugu get rid of the poison. I have a way. Yi Qiu ignored the enraged Dugu Yen and addressed Dugu Bo directly. Grandpa. Catch him for me. I have to kill him. Dugu Yen suddenly remembered that her grandfather was there. Okay. Dugu Bo said, smiling strangely. What? Yi Qiu was stunned. Why wasn't this guy following the script? Didn't he want to get rid of the poison? Swish, Dugu Bo joined the fray, reaching out to grab Yi Qiu. He, too, grabbed nothing but air. Senior. Do you want to watch your granddaughter die? Heh, boy. Let me catch you first. Dugu Bo chuckled. Yi Qiu frowned, realizing the situation was spiraling out of control, and began to retreat. He quickly distanced himself from the two of them, reaching a corner where the poisonous mist was thinner. A swirl appeared in his eyes. Trying to run. Seeing this, Dugu Bo's smile widened, as if he were witnessing something incredibly amusing. This familiar skill only excited him more. 8th soul skill, freeze time. Not good. Yi Qiu's eyes widened in alarm, a wave of anxiety washing over him. As Dugu Bo spoke, 9 soul rings. 2 yellow, 2 purple, 5 black, rose from beneath his feet, the 8th spirit ring pulsed, and an invisible ripple spread outward. Everything in the hall seemed to freeze in place. The swirling poisonous mist hung suspended in the air. Qiu's figure was frozen mid-motion, still holding his previous pose. Heh heh. Now Yan Yan is finally saved. Dugu Bo approached Qiu, not really intending to hurt him. He simply gave him a light tap on the back of the head, thump, behind him. Dugu Yan suddenly gasped, her face turning deathly pale, and she collapsed to the ground. Yan Yan, Dugu Bo rushed over, catching her in his arms. He waved his sleeves. Clap clap, the doors and windows swung open. The space brightened as the poisonous mist dissipated, and Qiu slumped limply to the ground. Yan Yan. Are you okay? Dugu Bo called anxiously. Dugu Yan was in bad shape, her face as white as a sheet and covered in sweat. She looked as though she was about to faint. Dugu Bo quickly grabbed Qiu by the collar and stuffed him into his treasure bag. Then, cradling Dugu Yan, who was suffering from the backlash of the poison, he flew towards Sunset Forest. Chapter 96 Level 94. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At top speed, Dugu Bo plunged headfirst into Sunset Forest. Reaching a vast clearing, he hoisted Dugu Yan onto his shoulders and began making strange hand gestures. The space shimmered, and in an instant, Dugu Bo and his granddaughter vanished. Ugh! After what felt like ages, Qiu's heavy eyelids fluttered open on a small bed. Ouch! That hurts. He sat up, hand instinctively reaching for the back of his head. He looked around. Qiu had no clue where Dugu Bo had taken him. All he could see was a simple log cabin furnished with a bed, a few tables, and chairs. Nothing else. Qiu got to his feet, stretched, and checked himself over. Good, nothing's missing. He stepped outside, click, star. As soon as he opened the door, a wave of refreshing air washed over him. He felt the blood in his veins quicken. The thick, swirling mist hung in the air. This is it. Qiu stared, wide-eyed, at the scene before him, rubbing his eyes in disbelief. His eyes glowed crimson, pupils flashing with purple light. Peering through the fog, he made out the scene inside. Before him lay a spring of red and white, clearly divided down the middle. It was the source of the mist. Yes. I finally found it. After double-checking, Qiu shouted with joy, the ice and fire yin-yang well. The place he'd been searching for was finally within reach. Qiu stood in an inverted cone-shaped hollow ringed by hard rock walls. A thin, cloud-like mist veiled the sky, but didn't block the light. The ground was level, dotted with small wooden houses around the edge. In the center bubbled the spring, surrounded by various herbs: dragon beard, gold cabbage, fiery apricot, star anise, black ice grass, acacia heartbroken red. Looking at the shimmering plants, Qiu could hardly contain himself. He wanted to start picking them immediately. Well. You woke up early. A raspy voice came from beside him. Qiu snapped to attention, realizing Dugu Bo was standing there. Senior. Qiu greeted him with a bow. Since he was awake and had been brought here, he figured he was safe. Besides, based on Dugu Bo's mutterings earlier, it seemed like he might have some connection to him. Qiu eyed Dugu Bo with renewed curiosity. So, how are you feeling about the old man and his granddaughter? Dugu Bo sneered, gazing at Qiu with a hint of menace. Senior, I swear, I didn't mean any disrespect. Qiu stammered. Criticizing his daughter in front of a titled Douluo. He wouldn't dream of it with his current strength. Humph. You wouldn't dare. Dugu Bo scoffed, suppressing the soul power that had begun to surge around him. He pointed toward the swirling mist. You recognize this place? Qiu nodded. Yes, it's called the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang Well. Dugu Bo stroked his dark green beard, looking pleased. He nodded approvingly at Qiu. Follow me. Qiu followed him to a wooden shelter next to several wooden houses, simply built with pillars supporting a roof. Underneath was a low table with a pot of hot tea and a few futons. The two sat cross-legged, facing each other. Dugu Bo poured Qiu a cup of tea himself. Thank you, senior. Yi Qiu thanked him, but hesitated to take the cup. What's wrong? You had the nerve to seek me out, but you won't even take a sip of tea. I'm just not thirsty. Yi Qiu said truthfully, sitting stiffly across from the title Douluo, back ramrod straight. Humph. No manners at all. As an elder, I poured you tea personally. As a junior, you have no right to refuse, thump, Dugu Bo snorted and slammed the teapot down on the table. Heh heh. Yi Qiu forced a dry laugh, picked up the cup, and took a sip. The tea was clear, a light emerald green, and gave off an intense fragrance. Just a sip felt like drinking it 1,000 times, a clean, peaceful sensation rushing to his head. So, how's the tea? Good. Yes. Yi Qiu nodded sincerely in response to Dugu Bo's question. Heh heh heh. Dugu Bo's weird laugh sent shivers down Yi Qiu's spine. Heh heh. You know why this tea is so green? It's all thanks to my 9-section emerald. Dugu Bo's icy voice, like a February snowfall, chilled Yi Qiu to the bone. The little snake on his shoulder flicked its scarlet tongue at Yi Qiu for good measure. Yi Qiu's face turned green, he stared at Dugu Bo, and forced a smile. Senior, you shouldn't joke like that, tick-tock. Tick-tock, Dugu Bo ignored him, tapping the table as if counting down the seconds until the poison kicked in. Before the standoff could last longer, Yi Qiu was practically sticking his fingers down his throat. Ha 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 ha. Dugu Bo suddenly burst into hearty laughter, a hint of glee in his eyes, as if he'd finally gotten his revenge. Not bad. Phew. Yi Qiu sighed with relief. He'd almost lost his cool. So, how's your old man doing? After the laughter subsided, Dugu Bo took a sip of his tea. Huh. Yi Qiu was taken aback. I haven't seen my parents since I was a baby. Huh. Dugu Bo frowned. Any other elders in your family? I was an orphan, raised by my grandfather. He passed away before I entered the Junior Soul Master Academy. That can't be right, not with Benefactor's strength. Dugu Bo looked surprised by Yi Qiu's statement, and tugged at his messy dark green beard. Yi Qiu looked at Dugu Bo strangely, full of questions. Could it be that you knew my father? Yes. Dugu Bo nodded, a hint of awkwardness in his eyes. We met over 20 years ago. I had just hit level 80 back then. Now I'm at 94. All thanks to Benefactor. I can never repay his kindness. Senior's level 94. Yi Qiu exclaimed in surprise. How could Dugu Bo be 94? He's obviously 92. Humph. What? Don't believe me? No. No, of course not. Yi Qiu realized he'd let something slip and sounded a bit flustered. Dugu Bo glanced at Yi Qiu but didn't press the issue. Yi Qiu's curiosity burned. How had Dugu Bo confirmed his identity? And what was this kindness that Dugu Bo felt he could never repay? By the way, how did you figure out that I was your benefactor's descendant? Humph. It's your martial soul. There's no way I could be mistaken. Dugu Bo's voice was excited, as if recalling something incredible. My martial soul. Yi Qiu reached up to touch his eyes. Exactly. Your blood-red eyes might be a little different from Benefactor's, but the soul skills you use are very similar. Besides, the two of you look almost exactly alike. Yi Qiu sat there, stunned. Dugu Bo's words echoed in his head, not just the Sharingan. He looked similar, too. But his appearance had been transformed by the blue-silver bloodline. Chapter 97. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing Yi Qiu's surprise, Dugu Bo straightened up, hands clasped behind his back, and gazed at the sky at a dramatic angle. His voice was a mix of awe and pride. Hey, kid! You wouldn't believe how I got my 8th spirit ring. Sacrifice? Yi Qiu murmured, eyeing the teacup on the table. It was both a guess and an answer to Dugubo's question. Dugubo, still facing away, felt a spark in his eyes, thinking, he's right. This kid really has abilities like my benefactor. He paused, more thoughts swirling in his head. That's right. Medusa, the snake queen, sacrificed herself 7 years ago. A single glance, and she willingly gave her life. Dugubo's voice was relaxed, almost soaring, lost in the memory. That day, Benedict came down from the sky with a bloody long sword in hand. Saved me from certain death. Not only did he save me, but he also helped me hunt for my 8th spirit ring. My spirit power shot past level 83, and I even got a skull. After that, the ice and fire yin-yang well was transformed into a secret realm by Benedict. He ordered me to guard this place. Waiting for you to arrive. Dugubo turned, giving Qiu a long, hard look. Bloody long sword. Secret realm. Qiu whispered, frowning. The bloody long sword gave him pause, but the secret realm was a complete mystery. Kid, come with me. Dugubo shot into the air, heading towards the cliff, beckoning Qiu, A test, seeing the smooth, sheer rock face, Qiu stood, a faint light emanating from his right leg. He ascended smoothly, chasing after Dugubo. A soul bone. And a pretty high age limit. You truly are a descendant of my benefactor. Dugubo glanced back, a flicker of surprise in his eyes, but no hint of greed. Qiu arrived to find Dugubo already waiting. TSK. A golden opportunity. Hee. The kid just got lucky. Dugubo was annoyed. Standing on top, Qiu realized it was a huge mountain, and they were standing on the rim of what looked like a crater. Looking into the distance, the sunset forest was bathed in golden light, a dreamlike scene that lived up to its name. Something's off. Qiu noticed the absence of any poison formations around the ice and fire yin-yang well, not even a basic cover. How did I miss this before? Surveying the area, Qiu clearly remembered exploring this very spot. Qiu made a move to descend the mountain, but Dugubo stopped him. Strange, isn't it? Judging by your reaction, I'd say you already searched the sunset forest. Dugubo chuckled, stroking his beard and looking at Qiu with amusement. Qiu could only laugh awkwardly, feeling a little embarrassed. After all, I was planning on taking it without asking first. I'm honestly confused. How do you know about this place if you've never met Benedict? Come on. Dugubo brushed aside his doubts with a complaint, figuring his benefactor's foresight was simply beyond understanding. Wasn't it the same for him? He'd racked up so many debts he'd lost count. Get closer. Though puzzled, Qiu complied. A wave of heavy mental power washed over him. Seeing the hand seal Dugubo was forming, a sense of familiarity hit him. His eyes widened in shock, a twitch at the corner of his mouth. Siwation Hai Wuin. Dugubo completed the seal swiftly, and the space around them seemed to ripple like a clear lake, engulfing them. Ha! Looks like you recognize these handprints. In the sunset forest, as dusk deepened, a gravelly voice echoed. Dugubo and Qiu now stood in a vast open space. Hearing Dugubo's words, Qiu nodded dumbly, his mouth twitching, wanting to laugh but unable to. A sheen of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Could it be that Dugubo's benefactor was also a time traveler? It's so weird. How could something like this appear in this world? This behavior, really is, Shouldn't you take a look around first? Dugubo, oblivious to Qiu's inner turmoil, suggested. Around? Qiu scanned the area, eyes widening. It's mountains everywhere. Hearing Qiu's exclamation, Dugubo grinned, clearly pleased. He loved that expression. He remembered when Yan came. Her reaction was even more dramatic than Qiu's. Downright unbearable. Dugubo would never forget that day. With a single look, the entire mountain was uprooted and shoved into a crack in space, isolating it from the outside world. Those outside couldn't see what was inside, nor could they enter. Those inside could see out, but only see. To get in or out, one had to use those special handprints. So, this is the secret realm. Yi Qiu finally understood why he couldn't find the eye of Binghuoliangi, ** what the hell. They weren't even in the same dimension anymore. No wonder I couldn't find it, star. Okay. Let's head back. After showing off, Dugu brought Yi Qiu back, and in an instant, they were back in the crater-like area. Senior Dugu, since coming to this world, Yi Qiu really wasn't used to having a new father out of nowhere. Then why hasn't your poison been cured? Ah. Dugu sighed, looking helpless. Just when Benedict was about to explain the method, something unexpected happened, and he left in a hurry before finishing the explanation. He turned to Yi Qiu, grabbing his shoulder. But it doesn't matter now that we've found you, the poison plaguing our grandfather and grandson can be cured. Where did he go? I don't know. I haven't seen Benedict since. But I suspect his disappearance is connected to the spirit hall. Yi Qiu frowned. Why is this getting weirder? Related to spirit hall, Dugu continued. Over 20 years ago, during a soul battle, I saw the bloody long sword in Benedict's hands appear in the hands of Bibi Dong, the current pope of Spirit Hall, who was still a saint at the time. That was the last trace of him. Bibi Dong. Yi Qiu's eyes flashed, and he suddenly remembered the strange incident with Yu Xiaojiang. Yu Xiaojiang's scandal with the Holy Maiden had been exposed. Senior, have you heard of Yu Xiaojiang? Does he have anything to do with this? Huh. You know that trash. Dugu looked at Yi Qiu, surprised. But I'm not sure about that. Dugu pinched his chin, thinking hard. I do remember that shortly after that soul battle, I heard the Saint Bibi Dong's personality change drastically, and she killed people like a demon. Yu Xiaojiang crossed her at that time and was imprisoned and tortured for half a year before being thrown out of Spirit City. Hey! It caused quite a stir back then, and even that old dragon's personal request to ask for someone himself was useless. Yi Qiu naturally knew who the old dragon was, Yu Xiaojiang's biological father, Thunder Douluo Yu Yuanjin. I have one last question. What was his name? Benedict went by the name Yi Qiu. Group number, 8318210005. I wish you all a happy life. End of this chapter. Chapter 98 Fiancee. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Flying with Dugu, Yi Qiu felt a sense of gravity. The world felt different, like something he didn't understand had changed, and the future seemed less certain. Should he be looking into things? After all, that Yi Qiu guy seemed connected to him somehow. Feeling the wind lessen as they descended, Yi Qiu saw Dugu Yen emerge from a small cabin near the spring before his feet even touched the ground. She shielded her eyes, looking around, and rubbed them again. Dugu was already there. Grandpa! She cried, running to hug him. Yen, you okay? Everything alright? Dugu asked, smiling. He was clearly in a good mood. Dugu Yen shook her head. I'm fine, much better now. Grandpa, where's that creep? Did you catch him? I'm gonna teach him a lesson. That even freshly awake, her face pale, just remembering made her flush. She'd been biting and gnawing. That guy was so dead. Just behind her, Yi Qiu, descending slowly, didn't dare make a sound. Dugu Yen might have wanted to kill him before, but now she just wanted to beat him up. Yi Qiu breathed a sigh of relief, but he was wrong. Yi Qiu, was still uncomfortable about it all. He felt guilty. Haha. Of course Grandpa caught him. Dugu glanced at Yi Qiu, amused. Hey! Isn't he right behind you? Senior Dugu. You. Seeing Dugu gloating expression, Yi Qiu felt embarrassed. Did this old guy have to make it worse? Yi Qiu. You little sneak, Dugu Yen whirled around and charged at Yi Qiu. Miss Dugu, I swear, I didn't mean it. Yi Qiu quickly activated his Sharingan. Dugu Bo, meanwhile, strolled back to the cabin, sat down, and started sipping tea. He did, however, remind Dugu Yen. Yen. Don't use your spirit, you'll trigger the poison again. Okay, Grandpa. Dugu Yen replied, still rushing toward Yi Qiu. The dagger flashed green, looked poisonous. Miss Dugu. Is this really necessary? Yi Qiu stared at the weapon. This was just a lesson. Necessary. You jerk. That was my first kiss. Arg! Dugu Yen slashed wildly, but couldn't land a blow. Her anger grew, her green pupils sharpened. Even without summoning her spirit, Dugu Bo watched, deep in thought. He glanced at Yi Qiu, then at his granddaughter, nodding to himself. He muttered something. Ah! Yi Qiu, fight like a man. No special powers. Dugu Yen was winded, sweat dripping, clothes clinging to her curves, hands on her knees, chest heaving. The two figures were frozen, and Dugu Yen was unwilling to walk away for a moment. Senior Dugu. Talk some sense into her. She can't keep this up. Ugh. Grandpa, ignore him, help me catch him. Or I'll pull out your beard. Cough cough. Dugu Bo, sipping tea, choked and stopped thinking. Ahem. Dugu Bo coughed, preparing to speak. Yen. You two are practically family, no need to fuss over something like this. Grandpa. What do you mean, something like this? That was my first time. Ahem. Hearing Dugu Yan's words, Yi Qiu couldn't help coughing. The more she said, the more she went too far. He started to protest, but Dugu Yen glared him down. Hee. Dugu Bo smiled, glancing at Yi Qiu meaningfully. Because you're her fiancé. I already arranged a marriage between you. What? Times 2. Yi Qiu stared at Dugu Bo, stunned. When did this happen? He hadn't heard a word about it. Dugu Yen looked shocked. Her trainee was her fiancé. No way. Senior Dugu. That's crazy talk. Miss Dugu and I were practically strangers then. How could you arrange a marriage? Yi Qiu strongly objected. What? Think I'm lying? Smack. Dugu Bo slammed the table, looking angry. It was a promise between your father and me. If either of us had children of the right age, we'd become family. Your father agreed. Of course I don't think you're lying. Sensing Dugu Bo's power, Yi Qiu spoke carefully. So you agree? Dugu Bo's voice softened. Grandpa. No way. He's no good. I don't agree. Dugu Yen snapped out of it, glared at Yi Qiu, ran to Dugu Bo, and shook his arm. Yen. Stop it. It was your parents' wish. Their last wish. Dugu Bo knew his granddaughter's soft heart, so he played his trump card. Mentioning her parents stopped Dugu Yen cold. She stared at Dugu Bo, incredulous. Grandpa, you're lying. Why didn't you ever tell me? How could Mom and Dad agree to this? Dugu Bo avoided her gaze. It's true. Your parents were only alive so long because of your fiancé. The Earth Dragon pumpkin you stole was his engagement gift. Dugu Bo even sounded harsh if he knew how angry he was that she stole the pumpkin. It was a deadly poison to her. If Yi Qiu hadn't been there, he might have lost her. He was just letting out his anger. Dugu Yen, rarely scolded, stood there dazed, tears welling, staring stubbornly at Dugu Bo. Then she looked at Yi Qiu, eyes flashing with tears, even killing intent. Then, slowly, as if accepting fate, she lowered her head. Kid. Forget Yen for a second, just tell me, do you agree to this? After dealing with Dugu Yen, Dugu Bo turned to Yi Qiu. Coughing here. Looking at the conflicted grandfather and granddaughter, Yi Qiu felt the pressure. He deactivated his Sharingan and said respectfully to Dugu. Senior, I can't agree. Kid. What do you mean? You think Yan isn't good enough? How could I? Miss Dugu is beautiful. Intelligent. Ahem. Qiu had never praised a girl, and stumbled over his words. He cleared his throat and said seriously. Miss Dugu is great, but I already have someone I care about. Several someones, actually. You little, Dugu almost exploded. A womanizer. He weighed his options, glanced at Dugu, and said bravely. Humph. A man can have multiple wives. As long as my yen comes first. Chapter 99 Potential Stocks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Dugu said that, Dugu stared at him, shocked. She couldn't understand why he was still pushing her to marry Qiu and honor that ridiculous marriage contract. Meanwhile, Qiu's eyes flashed with determination. He bit his lip and stared back at her. Heh, Qiu chuckled dryly. Well, I'm really not the right age for marriage. Miss Dugu is probably 16 or 17, and I'm not even 11 yet. Enough, boom, Dugu slammed his hand on the table, smashing it to pieces. Even Dugu shot a hateful glare at Qiu. How dare he keep finding fault with her? And his excuses were so lame. Boy. You call that under 11? Are you trying to pull the wool over my eyes? At least come up with a believable excuse. Dugu was furious. The kid was being a fool. Yan was practically throwing herself at him. He could have a beautiful girl and a title Douluo as a backer with a simple yes. But this kid kept turning it down. Senior. I'm not lying. I just had a growth spurt, that's why I look older. Swish. Dugu stepped in front of Qiu, grabbed his wrist, and checked his pulse. Huh. You really weren't lying. He looked at Qiu with a strange expression, even more impressed than before. A great soul master at such a young age was incredibly rare. Dugu was also surprised. She hadn't realized Qiu was so young, yet he could easily defeat Yu Tianheng, who was level 35, she huffed, still glaring at him. That didn't change the fact that he was still a disciple. Besides, he was a disrespectful brat. Dugu let go of Qiu's hand. Seeing the kid's discomfort, he decided not to push things too far. He put his hands behind his back, walked past Qiu, and sighed. All right. Do what you want. I won't interfere too much. Phew. Qiu breathed a sigh of relief. This was way too complicated. He couldn't understand why his old man would set up such a marriage contract in the first place. Dugu stalked up to Qiu, her expression frosty. Am I giving you a hard time? Miss Dugu. Before Qiu could finish, Dugu punched him square in the face. Humph. Jerk. She watched Qiu clutch his eye and double over, then yelled again. She then silently ran back to her room. Heh. Dugu, who had been watching the whole scene from the corner of his eye, chuckled when he saw his granddaughter's reaction. His plan was working. With the existence of this ridiculous marriage contract, even if they weren't interested in each other now, they would inevitably start interacting and something would eventually happen. He had also told Yan that this was her parents' wish, so she should put some effort into it. What if it didn't work out? No problem, he would be there to help, and everything would be fine. Qiu was a promising investment, and the Dugu family was all in. Even God couldn't change his mind. He turned and looked at Qiu, whose left eye was already starting to turn purple. Ahem. Dugu coughed a few times, replaced his smug grin with a look of concern, turned around, and looked at Qiu. Boy. You okay? I'm fine. Qiu rubbed his right leg bone, and the purple around his eye slowly faded. Yan's got a temper like that. Don't take it to heart. Qiu shook his head. It's true that I was rude to Miss Dugu. Since you're alright, let's talk about the detoxification. Right, I understand. Dugu strode toward the shed, then remembered he'd smashed the table. He led Yi Qiu into the house instead. The two of them talked for a long time inside. Yi Qiu had already given Dugu the solution to his poison. After hearing the details, Yi Qiu understood why Dugu Yan's toxin backlash was so severe. After she consumed the ground dragon pumpkin, her martial soul had immediately evolved into the jade phosphorus snake emperor, but the effects of the herb hadn't been fully absorbed. Her martial soul was still in the process of evolving, transforming from a snake into a dragon. No wonder the Landian overlord dragon sect had sent Yu Tianheng to get close to her. They must have figured out her martial soul was evolving. Sigh. I shouldn't have told her about the effects of the ground dragon pumpkin in the first place. Dugu felt helpless. He had wanted his granddaughter to be happy, so he never told her the secret of her poisoning. Senior Dugu, don't worry. I'll do my best to cure both of you. But I'll need to gather some herbs around the eyes of ice and fire yin-yang, Yi Qiu confidently replied, not forgetting his original reason for coming here. With those words, I'm relieved. As for those herbs, they're yours for the taking. Help yourself. Dugu waved his hand, not caring much about the herbs. After all, he didn't know much about them, except for the big chrysanthemum. Besides, once Yi Qiu became his grandson-in-law, those things would belong to the Dugu family anyway. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but let out a loud laugh. Hey, boy. Once Yanyan's poison is almost gone, you have to help her get a stronger soul ring. After all, she's your fiancée. Dugu grinned at Yi Qiu. He might not know much about Yi Qiu's abilities, but he could tell from that benefactor that he was something special. Because of the ground dragon pumpkin, Dugu Yan had broken through to level 40 early on, but he hadn't dared to let her get a soul ring, fearing it would worsen the poisoning. Now it seemed like a blessing in disguise. Yi Qiu was speechless, staring at him. He was increasingly convinced that this old man had fabricated the marriage contract himself. Senior Dugu, stop saying such things. As for Miss Dugu's fourth spirit ring, I'll definitely help. After all, she still needs a spirit bone to store toxins, right? Humph. What's wrong with my Yanyan? Dugu snapped. Okay. Seeing that Yi Qiu wanted to argue, Dugu waved his hands impatiently, cutting him off. Humph. You better go get some rest. Don't rush into making any antidote. Alright. Then I'll go rest. Yi Qiu bowed and said goodbye. Walking out of the room, Yi Qiu noticed moonlight shining through. This barrier was truly amazing. He headed toward the room where he had slept when he first arrived, but suddenly stopped near the ice and fire Yang, on the other side of the milky white spring. Under the faint light of exotic flowers and plants, a slim figure stood motionless. She stared blankly at the half-Wang Hanquan. Yi Qiu was about to go over, but he hesitated, stopped, and continued toward his room. Still worried, he called out. Miss Dugu, the ice and fire Yang emanates two extreme forces. Standing there for too long could harm your body. You should go back and rest. After saying that, Yi Qiu watched her for a few seconds. When she didn't move, he frowned, opened the door, and went inside. Bastard! That brat. Dugu, who had been watching from the window, muttered under his breath, dissatisfied with Yi Qiu's lack of action. He quickly walked out of the room. End of this chapter. Chapter 100. The Frozen Father and Mother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dugu draped a piece of clothing over Dugu Yan's shoulders. Yan, let's go inside. Dugu Yan didn't respond, tears freezing on her face. She trembled slightly, eyes fixed on the pool of milky white cold spring. 2 blocks of ice floated within. A man and a woman were encased separately. The man had dark green hair and eyebrows, and resembled Dugu. The woman, while not strikingly beautiful, possessed a regal air, bearing a resemblance to Dugu Yan. They were Dugu Yan's parents, Dugu son and daughter-in-law. Dugu Bo gazed at the pool, sighed deeply, and placed his hands on Dugu Yan's back, using his soul power to ward off the cold. "Grandpa," Dugu Yan's voice wavered. She turned to him, her expression earnest. "Tell me the truth about the marriage contract. Did my parents really agree to it?" Yen. Taken aback by her question, Dugu Bo paused, looking her in the eye, his voice raspy. He finally spoke. "Yes, Yuer and his wife agreed to the marriage." A weight settled on Dugu Bo's heart. Dugu Yen stared at him, her green pupils unreadable, betraying neither joy nor sorrow. "I understand," Dugu Yen finally said, nodding slowly. She turned toward the wooden house, stumbling, her legs were nearly frozen, but Dugu Bo caught her. Yen. Are you alright?" "I'm fine." Supporting her, Dugu Bo used his soul power to drive away the chill. He guided her slowly towards the wooden house. Dugu Bo seemed to sense something, his gaze snapping towards Qiu's room with a snort. Dugu Yen followed his line of sight, noticing the trembling window of Qiu's room, as if it had just been shut. After a moment, she lowered her gaze and continued towards her own room. Inside Qiu's room, he leaned against the wall by the window. He had clearly been watching. Phew, Qiu exhaled softly, then climbed into the small bed. With nothing else to do, he figured he'd get some sleep. Outside, Dugu Bo walked to the edge of the cold spring, frost forming on his eyebrows as he approached. Looking at the two figures suspended within, Dugu Bo grew somber. "Yuer. All my mistakes are to blame. If it weren't for my poison, you wouldn't be like this." That he had dedicated his life to poison, only for it to nearly destroy his family. Now, Qiu offered a glimmer of hope. Yen, don't blame Grandpa. It's all for your own good." Staying for a long while, Dugu Bo didn't return to the wooden house until late that night. Qiu emerged from the wooden house, stretching. The morning sun glistened on the mist, creating a dazzling display. Taking a deep breath, Qiu walked towards the Binghua Lianjian in the distance. He planned to gather the star anise black ice grass and Lihua Xingjiashu first. He needed to find an antidote for Dugu Bo and his granddaughter. For now, he'd get used to the area to avoid accidents while gathering the herbs. The star anise mystic ice grass grew in the center of the cold spring's bank, radiating intense cold poison. It was octagonal, with stamens that shimmered like ice crystals. Qiu activated his Shantian Kung Fu as he approached. A layer of frost formed on his long blue hair, and his breath solidified in the air. He knew he couldn't linger. According to Tang San, prolonged exposure would allow the cold poison to attack the heart. He stopped, slapping his forehead. I spaced out. A six-pointed star appeared in his eyes, and his figure shimmered. "No problem." That he spotted two ice coffins floating in the spring. Qiu recognized them. That's Senior Dugu's son and daughter-in-law. No wonder Dugu Yen was standing there. Nearby, Dugu Bo appeared outside the wooden house. Seeing Qiu standing by the spring, he called out. "Boy! Why are you standing so close? Get over here." He had guarded this place for years, and even he didn't dare stay long. Qiu snapped out of it, glanced back at the coffins, and walked towards the wooden shed. A new low table was set with food Dugu Bo had brought back. "You're up early, Senior." "Humph." Dugu Bo's face darkened, clearly still bothered by the previous night. "I'm getting old and can't sleep." Qiu chuckled and pointed towards the spring. "Speaking of seniors, those two are." "That's right, those are Yen's parents." Dugu Bo said, knowing Qiu had seen them. Seeing Qiu's curiosity, he explained, "When they were dying, their lives were frozen, in hopes they can see the sun again someday." He watched Qiu expectantly. "I see." Qiu pondered this soul skill that could freeze vitality. Thinking of Dugu Yan's sadness, he resolved to help her if he could. Feeling Dugu Bo's intense gaze, Qiu felt pressured and uncomfortable. "Alright, quit standing around and get Yen to eat." Dugu Bo turned away, dismissing him. "Got it." Qiu reluctantly agreed. He raised his hand to knock on Dugu Yan's door. When it opened, Dugu Yan looked tired, with red and swollen eyes and messy purple-green hair. She forced a smile. "Miss Dugu, breakfast is ready. Yeah. She barely lifted her eyelids, glancing at Yi Qiu before walking past him, embarrassed. Yi Qiu followed her. Yen, sit down, I got your favorite. You caught a cold last night. After dinner, I'll make you some medicine. Thank you, Grandpa. Dugu Yen nodded and sat at the table. Seeing she didn't want to talk, Dugu both turned to Yi Qiu. Boy. Can you drink? Want to have a drink with me? No, I don't drink, Yi Qiu refused, wanting no more surprises. Humph. You can't even handle alcohol, Dugu Bo said, taking a large gulp. The meal passed in silence. End of this chapter.